Government Property here, and today we're here to talk about stress. Stress is an interesting thing. If you have too much stress, if you have too much stress, it can hurt you. If you don't have enough stress, it can hurt you. It's a balancing act. There is a nominal area in the middle that most people should try to maintain, but stress is interesting in that it is one of the most it's one of the biggest reasons people, especially military veterans, end up in unique situations with their health, their physical and mental health. Stress comes in two forms. You have physical stress and mental stress. Physical stress is going to be like, oh hey, I need to go do a PT test, I need to work out, I'm going to be doing things physical. And most people will tell you, if you don't work out, if you don't exercise, you're going to go through atrophy. You're going to lose your muscle mass. You're going to stop functioning properly because you're not keeping yourself balanced with stress. Too much physical stress and your body will break. Too much physical stress, your arms, you can break bones, you can ruin tendons, you can get all kinds of physical injuries. Mental stress, same concept, only it's what you can handle on a cognitive or a mental level. In the military, stress is everything. It's everywhere. You're going to have it. You're going to get up. You're going to have it. You're going to experience it. You're going to have the physical stress. Get up, go work out, hit the gym, PT, carrying weapons, wearing your armor, wearing your ruck, doing ruck marches, working, lifting, all the physical stuff. Then you've got the mental stress. The mental stress can range from what kind of workload you're being given, what's expected of you, how to operate, whatever you're doing. And it's interesting because in the military, they will teach you let me put it this way, they don't teach you how to manage stress in a good way. Usually they'll teach you how to be stressed, and then how to take some minor relaxation, or even to recover. Concept of recovery is, like with anything, you go to the gym, you work out. Most bodybuilders, most personal trainers will tell you, if you're going to go work out, you work out for a couple of hours, or maybe even 30 minutes of exercise. You're going to need to recover. You're going to need to spend time to let your muscles recover, to heal, and to be able to de-stress. On the mental side of this, if you're in a high stress situation mentally, you have a task you have to complete, and you're given a deadline, and whether or not you can meet the deadline, whether or not it's possible, you may end up in a situation where you find yourself overstressed, over engaged. And how do you de-stress? Well, there's a couple of different ways in the military. I mean, you might finish up, you might go work out to add physical stress to help alleviate mental stress. But at the end of the day, it comes into, what are you doing for stress management? Stress management or self-care is something that the military as a whole doesn't seem to practice well, and doesn't seem to train at all. The main forms of stress relief in the military are going to be whatever you do for recreation. So it might be playing video games, it might be hanging out with the bros, it might be smoking cigarettes, it might be drinking alcohol, it might be going out to the bar when you get done. These are different forms of stress relief. And there's, in a non-combat situation, when you're on post in the rear, the stress level is, I would say, normal-ish for the military. You get up at dark 30, you go to the gym, or you go do PT, you then go to formations, you take care of your business, you go eat, so forth. You follow your routine. The routine helps with the stress, and you're given some downtime, unless of course somebody lost something, somebody got a DWI, someone other than you. Now, if you did it, you deserve what you get. But if something occurs in which your stress levels spike, you need to give yourself mental recovery. And something that a lot of these 18 and 19-year-olds don't understand is, while between the ages of 18 and 30, you can recover relatively quickly, physically and mentally, from most regular stressors. However, chronic stress, and you see these in combat zones, you see these when dealing with recruitment, you see these when dealing with prepping pre-deployment and post-deployment, and while you're deployed, you can be in a high stress situation. The longer you're in that situation, the more you're stressed or in a stressful situation, the longer it's going to take for you as the individual to recover. And sometimes that recovery is impossible. Sometimes you are in, I went out, I go out on a patrol, and there's all the anxiety that you have, the stress and anxiety that comes from pre-patrol, all the stress and anxiety on patrol, and then you get back and you kind of come down, and usually they'll give you a couple of days to recover, usually. But if you're in a combat zone and you're having to be sent out and you're under attack and you're getting mortared every day, or you're getting RPG'd, or you're dealing with contact with the enemy, you don't have time to really de-stress because it's just there. And this is where you'll see a lot of veterans, a lot of military personnel turn to maladaptive coping mechanisms that are good in the moment but are terrible long term. There's personally, I don't have a single problem with somebody having a beer, having an alcoholic beverage to depress their physical symptoms, to help kind of reduce, cause their systems to de-stress a little bit. However, the drawback is it's not really de-stressing, it's masking, in that you're stressing your body out so that your mind, your emotional or mental stress doesn't get the better of you. But at some point, it will get the better of you. And then you'll find this is where you'll see a lot of people in the military turn to alcohol. Turn to it as the coping mechanism, where they're getting drunk, or they're drinking all the time, or they're smoking all the time, or they're turning to harder, more illegal drugs to de-stress. And yeah, it's a problem, both in the military and the civilian side. But in the military side, it's different, because especially when I say it's different, I'm talking from a combat perspective, from a deployment perspective. When you're deployed, there's a lot of different stresses you got to deal with. If you're not married, or you don't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, then your stress levels are just, I got to take care of myself, I got to take care of my buddies, I'm good to go, generally. Until that one buddy gets hurt, you get injured, something happens. If you get injured in the military, say you twist your ankle, you're trying to get to formation, you twist your ankle and you're injured. Well, now you've got physical stress and mental stress. The mental stress is going to come from places like, I can't do my job properly, I'm not able to perform. And this can add up. This can build up. And if stress isn't addressed quickly, if stress isn't addressed properly, you can end up in a state of burnout. And more often than not, when I work with veterans, I see a lot of these guys and gals dealing with high stress and burnout conditions. Situations in which if their body gives out, they're done. Like, the military will chapter them out because their body has just destroyed itself. If they're mentally stressed out, it can cause physical symptomology. Physically, mental burnout can look like insubordination. It can look like just not caring. It can turn into depression. It can look like, it can create a sense of low self-worth because you're not able to perform and help your fellow soldiers. High stress can also cause issues in which it increases your blood pressure. It can increase your cortisol levels. Actually, usually it's because of the cortisol levels, but you'll end up with high cholesterol, high blood pressure. It can lead to strokes. It can lead to heart conditions. And this is the stress, not the physical aspect of it, just the pure mental stress can kill you and destroy you, and you'll never even see it coming. Ways to counter stress. Ways to counter stress are, like I said, a good self-care routine. This could be going to the gym, which again, adding physical stress to take away from mental stress, because you're just kind of tiring yourself out. Try to get good sleep. If you're not getting good sleep at night, if you're only sleeping 2 to 3 hours at a time and you're waking up, this can add stress. and it can really get to you. Um, like on my end, I don't see anything wrong with somebody having a drink every now and then. Even one beer a day probably isn't an addiction. It may just be the way they're using it to de-stress. But if you're held in a state of chronic stress for too long and you're trying to de-stress, it gets to the point where you have to have, where it's no longer, I'm just doing this as a recreation, I'm doing this as a medication, then that's where you know that your stress levels are so high, you take that step back. A lot of times these stress expressions can come out in so many really weird ways. High stress can lead to somebody who's really agitated. It can actually look like they're irritated, agitated. Um, they're bouncing all over the place, kind of like they have ADHD, but they don't. It can look like anxiety. It can look like and it can also, as I said, it can look like anxiety, and it can also look like various forms of possibly even like neurological disorders, like twitches and tics and all those kind of weird things where you're just kind of twitching and doing weird things with your eyes. And that can be an issue. That can be a really severe issue for people in the military because of the high stress environments we're in. And one of the big issues is they're supposed to give us downtime, and they do, but they don't teach us how to de-stress. Sometimes it's as simple as just, and I mean, you can look up dozens of stress reduction techniques. Sometimes muscle relaxation, sometimes breathing. There's biomechanics, and there's a biomechanical explanation for how all these systems work. But if there's one thing I know, it's when you're dealing with the military, one of the big issues you run into is that you're taught to live on this razor's edge of always being ready to go into fight or flight. Whether it's your infantry and you're getting ready to go kick in a door, whether you're a mechanic like I worked on Apaches. Um, the stress there is making sure those birds are flying, making sure you're doing the job right, making sure. I mean, there's so many little things to stress over when working on a helicopter. It sounds odd. I mean, I dealt with wires and weapons, and weapon systems got to work. Diagnostic systems, the internal, all of your stuff inside the helicopter has to work. And an interesting stress I came across, at least for myself, was that if I don't do my job correctly, people are going to die. Maybe the pilot, maybe the co-pilot, but the infantry people are going to take more fire because I didn't do my job right. And that's one of the stresses I encountered. I also encountered the stress of, you know, trying to make it day to day, working with, a situation, working with being mortared, working with sandstorms, working with haboobs, which if you don't know what that is, it's a giant sandstorm that goes on for days. But yeah, stress is something that we have to learn to manage and manage properly. Um, so I'll give you a kind of an example for my self-care routine. Um, More often than not, I'll play video games. I mean, one of my stress care routines is playing video games with friends. Usually something that just allows me to process and do something and take my mind off of it. Not so much as a disassociation of not dealing with it, but just allowing my mind to rest, to not have to process anything. Um, I enjoy cigars from time to time. I enjoy alcohol from time to time as a way to de-stress. I don't go, and it's, some people will, you do this, you do that, yeah, but none of it's an addiction. Why? Because I don't need it, I'm not craving it, I don't have to do it. It's strictly something that I do to relax. Relaxation could be sitting in a hot tub. Like when I hit the gym and I work out, one of my self-care routines after workouts is I go sit in a hot tub for 5 to 10 minutes and just let my body relax. Um, I might treat myself to a nice dinner every now and then. I might, just take a day, especially like when I work with like 9 clients at a time. Like if I have a day where I have 9 clients, that's 9 consecutive hours of working with other people's problems. I have to sit down. I have to sit down. I have to take my mind off of work. I have to do something that allows me to just let my mind process and just allow my mind to rest. Something that we're not taught how to do in the military is how to do that. Um, Sometimes we have intrusive thoughts. Sometimes we have all kinds of weird things going on with ourselves. And so being able to sit back and learn to relax and train ourselves to relax. Because again, as I said before, the military teaches us to live on that razor's edge of being in a constant state of stress and being able to tip over into fight or flight in a moment. But what they don't teach us how to do is how to turn it off, how to be able to turn ourselves, take ourselves out of that mindset, out of that biological set. And part of that is training. And what I mean by that is when you go to the gym, and I use kind of, you go to the gym, you work out, you're putting your body through physical stress. You work out, say you're lifting weights or whatever, and you finish up with your workout, and you're like, oh man, I'm tired, I feel good, because there's endorphins and there's things being released. But with the mental side of it, you have to train yourself the same way. Like when I explain relaxation and breathing techniques to many of the veterans I work with, it's not because I'm trying to tell them, oh, well, when you're having a panic attack, it's no. You need to retrain your body on how to relax because you spent, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 2, 3, 4, 20 years in the military in this state of high readiness, whether it was deployed or not. And now you're having to learn or retrain your body to be able to relax. And you have to be able to give yourself the benefit to relax, the benefit of relaxation. You have to go, okay, I'm going to relax. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to be quiet. I'm just going to allow my body to rest. And that can be very, very difficult initially because you are telling yourself to come out of that state of high readiness, to come out of that state of high preparedness for just even for just a few minutes, so that your body can just kind of relax. It can come off of that. It's something that like I said, it's something we're not trained to do in the military. It's something we're not trained to understand. And at the end of the day, too much stress will burn you out mentally. Too much physical stress will burn you out physically. It will break you. Not enough stress. Now, in the military, we don't have an issue of not enough stress, but the opposite of too much stress and burnout is not enough stress and atrophy, in which if you are not under enough, if you're not under a certain level of stress, your body and your mind starts to lose its function, and that can also be scary. So something I want to talk to you guys about is just that. Building a good self-care routine. Working on creating for yourselves a routine that you do daily. And sometimes, I'm not saying go out and drink every single day or have a cigar or have a cigarette every single day or, work out every single day, because you have to have time to recover. If you go through a time of extreme stress, like I'll give you a great example. I dealt with Hurricane Beryl going through the area that I live in, and I was without power for 7 days. And 3 of those days, I got like 3 hours of sleep for 72 hours of being awake. I was so ridiculously stressed out, physically and mentally, that I almost couldn't function properly. When I was able to finally rest, it took me 3 or 4 days before I got to where I was almost back to normal. And then I started seeing the symptomology of that stress played out almost a week or 2 later. As my body was able to start resting, the symptomology of the damage that stress had done to me played out over the next 2 weeks. I started experiencing heat cramps, heat prostration, like a heat casualty, heat rash. Even though I was no longer in the heat, my body was expressing it a week later. So bear in mind that when I realized what was going on, I had the wherewithal to go, okay, I need to rest. I need to still function. I had to still do my day-to-day functions, but I had to go above and beyond and go, okay, I need to rest more. I need to rest in addition to my normal rest, because my body was so stressed out, it needed more time to recover, both mentally and physically. So things you do, because everybody's self-care looks different. Develop for yourself a self-care routine that works for you and allows you to relax, allows you to de-stress, take your mind off of things. That's going to be step 1. Step 2, You're going to have to train it. You're going to have to, you can't just write it down on paper. You're going to have to train it. You're going to be willful and deliberate about it. You're going to have to give yourself time to recover. Stress is a silent killer. Too much stress will destroy you. And the repercussions of it may not be felt immediately. It may take a week. It may take 2 weeks before the symptomology starts showing up of what the stress did to you. And the older you get, the longer it takes for you to recover. Like I said earlier, 18 to 30, you recover pretty quickly. But after you pass 30, it starts taking longer and longer and longer to recover. And many veterans I work with, they were gung-ho 18-year-olds, 24-year-olds, and they hit like 30. They got out, and that stress, they were like, I could recover before so easily. It's like, I can't now. Yeah, you can't. You need to spend more time resting and recovering. And you need to do it right. Like I said, everybody, you need to develop your own self-care routine or you're going to destroy yourself. For the therapist, understand that when you're talking to a veteran who has dealt with these high-stress situations and lives in a stress bubble or or doesn't have good self-care because the military never taught us how to do it, you're going to end up in a situation having to use a lot of psychoeducation to help them develop and train not just stress management, but stress relief, so to speak, that doesn't involve maladaptive or illegal methods. Something to consider. Hopefully you found this helpful. Hopefully you found this informative, or you just like to listen to me ramble. Either or. And hopefully, you can, this has been, like I said, been informative, help you pass this on to somebody. Stress will get you. It gets everybody. So, if you like what I do, leave a like, subscribe, share this with somebody. Try to develop your own self-care routine, something that will help you be the best you can be. And for my therapist colleagues, we know, because of the nature of what we do, how valuable and necessary a self-care routine is. And it's something we got to help each other as therapists, and help each other as veterans develop and maintain. So, with all that said and done, I'll catch you guys next time. It's Government Property, out.